You care too much. That's what people tell you. You need thicker skin. You need to let things go. You need to stop taking everything so personally. And maybe they're right. Maybe you do feel things more intensely than others. Maybe you do carry other people's problems like they're your own. Maybe you do lie awake at night replaying conversations, worrying about outcomes you can't control. But here's the problem. When you try to stop caring, you don't just stop caring about the bad things. You stop caring about everything. The work loses its meaning. The relationships feel hollow. The passion disappears. And then you're left with a different kind of pain. The pain of numbness. The pain of going through the motions. The pain of being protected but empty. So you're stuck. Care too much and you break. Care too little and you lose yourself. But what if I told you there's a third option? What if the answer isn't to care less, but to care differently? Today, we're going to talk about one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal growth: detachment. Not the cold, indifferent kind. The kind that allows you to care deeply about things without being destroyed by them. The kind that lets you stay in the game without burning out. Let's start by understanding why caring hurts. You've been taught that caring means attachment. That if you really love something, if you're really committed, you should be emotionally fused to the outcome. Your happiness depends on it. Your identity depends on it. Your worth depends on it. So you pour yourself into your work, into your relationships, into your goals. And when things go wrong, when the outcome doesn't match your effort, you don't just feel disappointed, you feel shattered. Because you weren't just invested in the outcome, you were attached to it. And attachment means that your internal state is held hostage by external circumstances. Let me give you some examples of what attachment looks like. You work on a project for months. You give it everything. And when it doesn't succeed, you don't just think that didn't work. You think I'm a failure. You care deeply about someone. You try to help them. And when they don't change, you don't just feel sad. You feel responsible, like their pain is your fault. You set a goal. You work toward it consistently. And when life throws an obstacle in your way, you don't just adjust, you spiral. Because the goal wasn't just something you wanted, it was proof of your worth. This is the trap. You've confused caring with attachment, and attachment is a prison. Because when you're attached, you're trying to control things that can't be controlled. Other people's choices, market conditions, timing, luck. And when you can't control them, and you never could, you blame yourself. You internalize the failure. You carry the weight of outcomes that were never yours to carry. But here's the shift that changes everything. You can care deeply about something without being attached to the outcome. You can invest your effort without staking your identity on the result. That's detachment. And it's not about caring less, it's about caring smarter. 2,000 years ago, the Stoics figured this out. They had a framework, a way of thinking about control that's just as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. They divided everything in life into two categories: things within your control and things outside your control. And here's the radical part. They said focus all your energy on the first category and emotionally detach from the second. Let's break this down. What's actually in your control? Your effort, your attitude, your preparation, your response, your choices. That's it. That's the list. Everything else? The outcome, other people's reactions, the market, the competition, whether you get the opportunity, whether the timing is right, none of that is in your control. And the Stoics would say, you have no business attaching your peace to it. Now, this doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes. Of course you care. You want the project to succeed. You want the relationship to work. You want the goal to happen. But you don't need it to happen for you to be okay. Because your worth isn't tied to the outcome. Your worth is tied to the input, to the effort, to the integrity with which you showed up. Let me give you a concrete example. You're working on a business. You care about it deeply. You want it to succeed. Attachment says, if this business fails, I'm a failure. My identity depends on this working. Detachment says, I'm going to give this everything I have. I'm going to make the best decisions I can with the information I have. And then I'm going to accept whatever outcome emerges. Because the outcome doesn't define me. My effort does. Do you see the difference? Detachment doesn't reduce your effort. It increases your peace because you're no longer carrying the weight of things you were never meant to carry. Now, let's talk about the hardest part. Detachment in relationships. Because this is where people get confused. They think detachment means not caring about people, becoming cold, distant, selfish, but that's not what it means at all. Detachment means you can care about someone without taking responsibility for their choices. You can support someone without trying to control their outcome. You can love someone without losing yourself in the process. Here's the distinction. Compassion says, I see your pain, I care about you, I'm here to support you. Codependency says, your pain is my pain, I need to fix you. If you don't get better, I've failed. Compassion creates connection. Codependency creates entanglement. And the problem with entanglement is that it doesn't actually help the other person, it just drains you. Think about it this way. If you're drowning in the ocean and someone jumps in to save you, but they don't know how to swim, now there are two people drowning. But if they throw you a life preserver from the shore, they can actually help because they stayed grounded. That's what detachment allows you to do. Stay grounded so you can actually be useful. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone you care about is struggling, they're making bad decisions, they're in pain, and you want to help. Attachment says, I need to fix this, I need to convince them, I need to save them. Detachment says, I can offer support, I can share my perspective, but ultimately their life is theirs to live. I can't want their growth more than they do. This doesn't mean you abandon them, it means you stop trying to live their life for them. And here's the paradox. When you stop being attached to their outcome, when you stop needing them to change, you actually create more space for connection. Because you're no longer projecting your anxiety onto them. You're just present, without agenda, without control, just there. And that presence, that's more powerful than any advice you could give. So how do you actually practice detachment? How do you retrain your nervous system to release the outcomes you've been gripping so tightly? Here are 3 daily practices that will change how you hold your life. Practice 1, the control audit. At the end of each day, write down one thing that stressed you out. Then ask, was this in my control? If yes, then make a plan. Take action. Solve it. If no, then say this out loud. This is outside my control. I release my attachment to this outcome. It sounds simple, almost silly, but you're retraining your brain. You're teaching it the difference between influence and control. And every time you practice this, you're weakening the grip of attachment. Practice 2, the effort journal. Instead of tracking outcomes, track inputs. At the end of the week, don't write, did I hit my goal? Write, did I do the work? Did I show up with integrity? Did I give my best effort with the information I had? If yes, you succeeded, regardless of the outcome. This shifts your entire relationship with success. You're no longer at the mercy of things you can't control. You're measuring yourself by things you can. Practice 3, the compassion reset. When you catch yourself trying to control someone else's life, when you feel responsible for their choices, pause, take a breath, and say this, I care about you, but your life is yours. I can offer support, but I cannot carry this for you. This isn't cold. This is loving, because it honors their autonomy and it protects your peace. The more you practice these, the more natural detachment becomes. It stops being a forced mental exercise. It becomes a way of being. Let me tell you what detachment has given me and what it can give you. It's given me the ability to care deeply without being destroyed, to invest fully without being attached, to love people without needing them to be different than they are. It's allowed me to work on hard things without my identity being on the line, to fail without feeling like a failure, to succeed without needing external validation to prove I'm worthy. Detachment didn't make me cold. It made me free. Free to care about things without being held hostage by them. Free to do my best work without needing it to be perfect. Free to be present with people without trying to fix them. And that freedom, that's the most caring thing I've ever done for myself and for the people I love. So here's my challenge. Pick one area of your life where you're attached to an outcome you can't control. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a goal, maybe it's someone else's behavior, and practice releasing it, not abandoning it, not stopping caring, just releasing your grip. Say it out loud. I care about this, but I'm not attached to the outcome. I will do my part, and then I will let go. You'll be shocked by how much lighter you feel, how much space opens up, how much energy returns. Because you've been carrying things you were never meant to carry, and detachment is the permission to put them down. You can care deeply, and you can be at peace. Those two things are not in conflict. In fact, they're the only way to sustain a life of meaning without burning out along the way. So care, invest, love, build, but hold it all loosely, with open hands, not because it doesn't matter, but because you matter too. And you can't pour from an empty cup. Detachment is how you keep the cup full. Now go practice.